recognize me as a scouter. And it's really cool because it's a great conversation starter, and it kind of goes something like this. You get on a plane, you go to take your coat off, and your seatmate sees that pin, and he says, "Hey, that's the Boy Scout pin, isn't it?" And you say, "Yeah, sure it is." And you say it proudly, and you talk a little bit about it, you sit down, take your coat, put it up. You sit down, and he's some form of a question like this. Are they still around? Are they still around? Look around you. Are they still around? We're only the largest youth movement in the world, the greatest force for good that mankind has ever seen, and of course we're still around. But it doesn't stop there, you see, because I travel a lot, I get tired, and I like to listen to my headset and Bose and listen to books, and so I hunker down and wheels up, and the next thing you know, tap, tap, tap on my shoulder, and I look over, and he says, "Now that you mentioned it," and I said, "I didn't mention it, you did." But he says, "Let me tell you about my scoutmaster, old Joe Cobus. You know, next to my dad, old Joe Cobus, my scoutmaster was the greatest influence in my life, and he transformed me from a boy to a man, and I owe him so much. And so I feel compelled to talk about my scoutmaster, Roy Pedersen, and so I do. And now I'm tired, and I hunker down. I want to go to sleep. 400, 500, 600 miles later, tap, tap, tap. You know what? Guess what? Now that you've mentioned it again, I've got to tell you about old Camp Wally Gazip. There's some stories I can't tell you, but I can tell you this one. And we start talking about Camp Wally Gazip and his days at camp and the memories of all of those great times in camp. And so I feel compelled to tell him about Camp Pico Blanco and my experience. So I hunker back down again. I figure we're done now, and tap, tap, tap. You know what? I got to tell you, what the biggest regret of my life is, guess what it is? Never made it to Eagle. And I say, yep, we got the fumes, perfume, gas fumes, or both, and straight off the reservation. Now, at that point, I'm man enough not to tell him that I made it, but we talk about that just a little bit. Or conversely, if he did get it, he talks about the proudest day of his life when his mom and dad pinned that badge on his chest. My point is that America has a huge itch just waiting to be scratched, and it's the alumni out there. We have had 100 million plus graduate through our program over our first century of existence. There's 50 million living alumni out there, we calculate. But they're just waiting for somebody to strike up the fire so they can smell the wood smoke again and come back in the tent and tell their story. And that's why our passion for driving this Alumni Association to greater heights and reach out and embrace all of you and all of your friends who had that magical experience as a young person or as an adult parent in the scouting program. You see, because it's not because we want to count noses, but because it's so critically important for the future of this country that the next 100 years of the Boy Scouts of America be stronger than the last. We're not interested in just surviving. It's about thriving. It's about changing lives one at a time, like you see these young people here, and turning this group and this generation into real leaders, leaders of integrity and honor who understand what the Scout Oath and Law mean. And we can't